Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, I'm Elizabeth Shaw. It's all about the narcissistic personality disorder to give you more understanding of the things you might have been through within your life and how to recover from narcissistic abuse. This video is about the narcissist counter parenting. Narcissists do not have children to love, to nurture, to protect, to care for those children. They have children to meet a need of their own. Whatever they do is to meet a need of their own. It can be devastating, it can be draining, because children are what you really care for the most in the world, and they will use those children to get at you any way they can. People can stay in an abusive relationship far longer than they ever should have for the belief that the children are better in that household with two parents, when a child is better in a healthy household than a toxic household. One of the most important things is working on you, seeking whatever help and support you need for you and for your children. Discovering who you are again, that self-care, working on your beliefs, your dreams, because how you are as a person does actually in one way affect how your children are. So it's counteracting that negativity with your positivity by you building yourself up, by you showing your children what you can make of your life, helps lead them by example over the narcissist toxic words. When it comes to a narcissistic parent, they are not in it to meet their children's needs. They are in it to meet their own needs. A narcissist is entitled. It's part of the disorder, that entitlement, that belief that they should be able to do what they want when they want. They should be able to do as they please. They should be able to have whatever they want as and when suits them. When it comes to children, the children are an accessory to them. So they believe that they should be able to pick the children up as and when they want. They should be able to drop the children off as and when they want. If they want to see their children, they believe they should be able to see their children. If they don't want to see their children, they believe they shouldn't have to see their children. If they believe that they should pay maintenance for their children so that they can usually show off to the world their grandiose of, look at how amazing I am paying for my children, and that awful parent won't even let me see my own children, they will then pay for their children, but it's to meet a need of their own. If they believe they shouldn't pay for their children, they will not pay for them. They will not work. They will do all they can to financially abuse you through the children, while claiming you're financially abusing them, asking for money. And it's the same that those that pay for the children, they will use that against you. They will say that you've got the children to financially abuse them, to drain them of their finances. They don't see it as children need financial support as well as emotional support, as well as having that parental role to guide them through life. Children do need financial support. A narcissist sees this as a way to twist it, turn it, and exploit people and use the financial resources that children should have against the other parent, like I say, either by paying for the child and saying you're exploiting the narcissist, or not paying for the child and saying you're exploiting the narcissist. They always find a way to twist it onto how you're at fault, to escape a responsibility for what they should do in a parental role. With that lack of empathy, they do not care for the child. All they care about is getting at you or getting their needs met from the child. That lack of empathy means that although it can seem like they love the child is into a sporting hobby that the narcissist is into, the narcissist might be there taking them to every training session, taking them to every sporting event, to be the whole look at me grandiose parent, to get the attention from other parents about how amazing they are, to chip away at you, to be there to annoy you. They are not doing it for the child. They are doing it for themselves. They don't have the empathy to care for the child. They only have the empathy to care for themselves, as they are preoccupied with their own success. So it might be things they didn't achieve in childhood, and they will want that child to achieve it for them, not for the child's own needs, not for the child's own happiness, but for the narcissist's needs, for the narcissist's happiness. The narcissist is preoccupied with what they want out of life, what they expect their child to achieve in life, not for the child's benefit, for the narcissist's benefit. Some can be extremely envious of their own children, whether they show this or not. Some will go all out to sabotage their own children to make sure they don't achieve more than the narcissist achieved. Some will go all out to sabotage the other parent to make sure that the other parent does not have that happy life, to make sure the other parent cannot be there for the child. There can be extremely envious people that will go all out to hurt their own children to meet a need of their own, where you get that either they get it all from me or they don't get that from me, where you get the golden child and you get the scapegoat child, the one that they blame everything on. Because the narcissist believes that they are special, they either use the golden child to meet their own needs of that child will achieve the things that the narcissist wanted them to achieve. That child is often a very sympathetic, very empathetic person that aims to please, that aims to do their best to, without realising it, buy the narcissist parent's love by conforming to the narcissist parent's demands. And then again, because the narcissist believes that they are special, if they have a child that children are magical. Children, without realising it, can call people out on their behaviour. If you've got that child, narcissists tend to squish this in children, and as they grow, they learn to stay quiet. As a young child, you might have that child that turns round to the narcissist and says, "You lied," or "No, that didn't happen." They will call the narcissist out on their behaviour without realising they're calling them out. They're just being an honest, innocent child that sees the whole picture, that's willing to call it out. The narcissist takes this as criticism and will often scapegoat that child. That child is often also very empathetic and sympathetic. The narcissist will squish that in that child to make sure the child does not speak out against them. The narcissist will shame that child to make them conform to the narcissist demands, to shut that child up, to push that child away so that they cannot expose the narcissist's true intentions and true behaviour to other people. They gaslight their own children against you. They project not only onto you but onto their own children. They blame shift not only onto you but onto their own children. When there has been a separation, the narcissist will often tell that child that you are the reason why they split up. The narcissist will not be responsible. They will not be held accountable. They will blame it all on the healthy parent. They'll blame it all on you as to why you've split up, but they will do it in an unhealthy way to the child, directly to the child. Mummy and daddy would be together if your parent would this. Mummy and daddy would be together, but because your other parent was this. To make the child almost question what went off between the two of you, because most children do want their parents to be together. The narcissist will play these subtle games, or obvious, the overt way, where they will tell you that your parent did this and that's why we're not together. Or they will do the subtle way of, what do you think if your parent might, to try and chip away at you through the child. They'll also project onto you, if you've got a cord with a routine in place, which is to serve the child, to serve you, to serve them. And if you give an inch, a narcissist will take a mile. Within a healthy co-parenting relationship, even if you've got an order in place, you can potentially go to the other parent and say, "I've got this on, would you mind swapping these days?" The other parent would. And then the other way around, that parent could come to you and say, I've got this on, would you mind swapping? And if it suits everybody, you'd find that middle ground, you'd find that compromise. A narcissist will come after you time and time and time again to get you to swap things around, to change things around, to disrupt your life, to control your life any way they can. And every time you swap and change, they take that as an advantage point, they take that as a win, and they go again and again and again. And you can do this on a co-parenting level, thinking that you're being helpful, but it's only going to hurt you in the long run, because as soon as you ask them, they are going to say no. And at some point, that is going to get to you, because you expect that two-way give and take, and they are not going to give that two-way give and take. If they do, it's because they're playing another game over here that they're going to take you down with without you even realising. The only way to play a narcissist game is either not to play, or on a level of communication that they understand. They understand that they are not going to shift their ground. You do not shift yours. You stick to that court order to the T, and you arrange your life around that court order. If you have something planned, you're going to just have to swallow it. It's difficult. You're just going to have to do it without the children. It is hard, but you have got to stick to that to a T, because the narcissist will use it to take advantage, to exploit you. As soon as you give them something, they will take more. When you have offered to swap things for them and they don't for you, when you do finally take that stand and stop giving to them because there isn't that two-way give and take, they will come at you with, that's just like you, you're so selfish, you're not putting the children's needs first. All those sorts of things they will project onto you, because that's what they're doing. They won't put their own children's needs first, they put their own selves before anything else. The narcissist puts themselves before children, but when you treat them the way they treat you, they will then project that onto you. If you've swapped and changed for them and then you stop swapping and changing for them, expect that backlash, which is why it's always quite vital to just stick to it in the first place. Get that over and done with in the first place. Do not take it personally. It's just who they are. You cannot plead or with these kinds of people. You can call it guilt tripping, but they do it to guilt trip you. When you can see their behaviour is hurting or harming the children, and you go to them to try and level with them, to try and explain to them what's happening, they're not going to get that light bulb moment of, oh yeah, maybe I am hurting them, maybe I should stop this behaviour. They're going to see it as, I push this button, I get this reaction, I'm going to do this all the more. When we go to them to try and explain how it's hurting the children, we're doing it from the children's perspective to try and find that mutual compromise that works in the best interest of the child. Whatever they're doing is working in the best interest of themselves, to keep control over people, because they lack the empathy to care and they want to exploit people to meet their own need, including their own children. So they will triangulate you off against your own children, and they'll use various manipulation methods to do this. One is when they realise you're not bending to the order, they will then go direct to the child, or they can do this beforehand, and they will say, oh, tell mummy, tell daddy, tell your other parent that I would like to take you out then. So the child comes and asks you, and if it doesn't suit you and you say no, the child can then turn around and say, my parents said you'd say no. They've already got that in there. They've already put that doubt in the child's mind before the child's even come to you. That's when you have to respond with things like, your parent thinks how they want to think, and I think how I want to think, and you think how you want to think. So just try and keep it short and sweet and simple with the child. There is times, as long as you are comfortable with it, there is times where the child could come and say this, and if it does suit you and it's not going to cause any hassle, for the child's sake, you can turn around and say, on this occasion, yes, we haven't got anything planned. Yes, if that's what you would like to do, yes, you can do that. The narcissist can then do a double whammy and turn it round on you and say, oh no, sorry, I'm busy. So then when you tell the child that, oh, although we said we'd say yes, now your other parent is busy, the child will then twist it around saying, my other parent said you'd say that. So they can still find a way to play that game. It's just why it's best to always have everything via email, via message, so you've got that backup, so you've got that run of evidence there behind you. When they take it to the extremes, and it can be very difficult for most people want their children to have a relationship with the other parent, even when it's harming that child. They want to find a way to make it work in the best interest of that child, and sometimes you have to take the stance where you have to remove contact for the child's safety and well-being. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. Sometimes you are left with no choice, and the narcissist will, most often, some won't, but most of them will take you to court to cause more financial abuse, to cause more stress, to gain that power and control over you, which is why you need those things in writing as factual evidence, because the narcissist will twist and turn everything you say. If you've already got a court order in place, they step over the mark with how they're treating the children, and you have to take that action. You need to go to court first to get a variation of that order. Otherwise, the narcissist will do it for you. They will twist it all into how you are alienating the children when you're trying to protect the children. Do not call them a narcissist in the courtroom. This will go against you. Try to have the facts and evidence of their behaviour to let the judge and the people in the courtroom to make their own mind up. No one likes being told how to think. So it's all about letting the children make their own minds up. The authorities make their own minds up by just having the facts and evidence, which is very difficult with emotional abuse. With messages and emails, it can help. Things like the letdowns of the children with a narcissist are not very good at sticking to times. They will be late repeatedly to collect the children, which can have negative effects on the children. It can have negative effects on you. Keeping diaries of when they should pick up and what time they do pick up. If you've got it in messages, what time they said they'd be there. Because with modern technology, it's not hard to drop someone a text and say, I'm running late. A narcissist will not do this. With dropping off, they will find a way to drop off later and later and later to cause that panic in you, to cause that upset in you, so that you reach out to them. The children don't really know they've got an idea of time, so it can panic children. Keep evidence of this, especially on school nights. So if you have to go for a variation, you can try with the approach of moving it to a weekend for the benefit of the child, because their other parent doesn't bring them home on time, and it's vital that child has the correct sleep. So you're not doing it to harm the other parent because the other parent is toxic. You're doing it to find what works best for the child. A narcissist will find many ways to triangulate, whether they are telling the child things you've said about people, whether they're telling the child that, oh, your other parent wouldn't allow you to do this, but I'll allow you to do this. Whether they're telling the child, I know it's boring at your other parent's house, wait till you get back here, we'll do this. They will find a way to triangulate the child. They'll also love bomb the child. They can go hot and cold with the child. One week they might not be interested in seeing the child whatsoever. The next week they might pick them up and go and spend loads of money on them to build them up, to love bomb the child. They might flatter the child when they've achieved something, because it's not a genuine compliment. A genuine compliment comes from the heart with a bit of empathy behind it and is meant well. It's flattery. They will flatter the child when the child achieves something, but they'll also take it away from the child with the, you get that from me. And they might treat the child when they do well, not as a praise reward system like you get in business. If you work hard, you might get a bonus. They don't do that with the child. They don't do it to teach them about life skills. They do it to gain that admiration from the child so that they can then whip it away from the child as and when suits. They don't do it as a form of when the child's misbehaved, so you're trying to teach the child how to respect other people. Difference between right and wrong behaviour. When the child's done something that isn't particularly wrong behaviour, it's just criticise the narcissist. For example, if the child mentions, when I was with my other parent, we did this and we had such a good time, to the narcissist can then take something away from that child as punishment for loving their other parent. So they will intimidate and they will guilt trip their own child. They will play the woe is me with their own child. You're the parent because of your other parent. They'll intimidate the child by if the other child says something positive about you to the narcissist, by taking those things away from that child, they are intimidating the child to think and behave how the narcissist wants them to think and behave. They can even resort to certain tracks of music to almost subliminally message to the child certain things. They can play certain types of music on repeat to the child, or they can say to the child, oh, your other parent loves this, make sure they listen to it when they get home. It could be when you listen to the lyrics of some of these songs, children can come home from the other parent very emotional, very all over the place. They can come home from the narcissist very emotional. Being around these kinds of people, your insecurities play up, your anxieties play up, and this happens with children. Children become very anxious around them. Children can become very depressed around them. So it's all about being at your best so you can give your best to make your child feel comfortable, feel happy, feel supported. And if you need to get extra counselling and support for yourself and your children, then do so. When the children come home, they need to safely let those emotions out. They can't come home and start talking to you in a derogative manner. They do need teaching right from wrong. They also need teaching how to think for themselves, how to empathise with other people so that they don't develop those narcissistic traits as they grow older. That kind of counterbalancing where the narcissist counteracts your parenting to try and destroy you, to try and destroy the child. You've got to try and keep that positivity, you can't badmouth the narcissistic parent to the child. Darkness does not drive out darkness. Who is that quote? Is it Martin Luther King? I can't remember the exact quote. I'll add it into the comments, but something like darkness does not drive out darkness. Only light drives out darkness. You have got to teach the child how to think for themselves, how to help themselves. You've got to show them the light that it drives out the narcissist darkness. You can't counteract it by telling the child what to think about their other parent. You can't directly say, your parent has done this to cause hassle within our lives, because that's what they're going to be getting from the narcissist. Even though you're speaking the truth, you've got to put it in a way that the child can think for themselves. What do you think might happen if we do this? So allowing the child to make their own minds up and to think for themselves. They will invalidate the child's feelings just like they invalidate everyone else's feelings. They will cause that shame in the child by, if the child doesn't achieve, they will invalidate the child. They will invalidate you to the child to make that child feel shame. If that child speaks positively about a family member the narcissist does not like, they will shame the child into trying to dislike that family member, which is where you've got to try and counterbalance that by not shaming the child, by allowing the child to think what they want to think about people and make their own minds up and let them create their own opinions. Narcissists are very good at doing something like getting the child's haircut, which is quite an innocent thing. Parents do get children's haircuts. Sometimes parents do get the wrong kind of haircut for the child. A narcissist does it to poke at you and to bait you to react. When you react, ping, they know that they can do it again. Children can actually come home and say, oh, my parents said you wouldn't like this haircut. Or they might come home and say, do you like my haircut? You've got to be honest with them. If you don't like it, you've got to tell them you don't like it. But you've also got to explain to them that just because you don't like their haircut, they still look however they look. And it's not about what you think you've got to teach them. It's about their own opinions. If you like it, tell them you like it. If you don't, tell them you don't. But you've got to teach them to raise themselves up, because a narcissist will constantly be dragging them down. It's trying to explain to the child that just because you don't like it, that doesn't matter. It's whether the child likes it. Asking, you can't avoid the question, because narcissists are very good at avoiding questions. So that teaches the child how to avoid an honest answer. So give an honest answer, but then kind of explain to the child that it doesn't matter what your opinion is. It's the child's hair. It's how the child feels about themselves. If they like it, good. If not, they've learned not to have the haircut that way again, and it will grow back and things like that. So trying to raise the child up, but also while trying to be honest. And it's very, very tricky, because you don't want to upset your child, but you also don't want to. Parents do tell those white lies to try not to hurt the children's feelings, but when you've got a narcissist constantly lying to them, you've got to be very careful of the words you use around your children, so that they learn to build their own self-esteem and build their own confidence up. A narcissist will bait you through the children. If they know it bugs you, the child sleeping over, they will take you to court for more nights. If they know it bugs you bringing them home late, they will bring them home later and later. If they know it bugs you giving them sweets just before they come home, they will make sure they do this. They will do all they can to bait you into getting that reaction. And once they've got that reaction, they know it works against you, and they will do it all the more. This is when things like the silent treatment works. Narcissistic people understand that when they fall silent, it's because they are trying to gain control over you. When you fall silent to the narcissist then thinks that you're trying to gain control over them. When they fall silent, they're expecting you to beg, to plead, to apologise. So when you fall silent on them, they're going to be thinking, they want me to apologise, they want me to beg. And if it's to meet a need of their own, the narcissist will offer that false apology to suck you in and say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but, to give you that false hope that they're going to change. And then as soon as you forgive them, they'll revert back to who they are anyway. So don't listen to those false apologies. Often, the more you fall silent on them, the more they think they're trying to get one over on me, and they will stay silent on you because they don't realise you're doing it to live a happier life. They think you're doing it to gain control over them, when you're doing it to live your best life, to leave them to live their life while you live your life. When they're coming at you with those messages, when they're baiting you into responding, when you're meeting them in person and they're trying to get that reaction, when they're saying things like, that's just like you, this is when you need to be businesslike. You need to look just over their right ear if it's face to face. Concentrate on your breathing. Think of somewhere nice you can go afterwards. Take yourself away from the situation that you're in so that their words aren't impacting you, so that you don't react. Try to keep any sort of face-to-face communication to the minimum if you can have someone else there with you, or if you can have someone else there to do the child handovers that the child's comfortable with, things like that, to minimise your interaction with the narcissist until you're emotionally, especially at the start, you've got to be emotionally in that place to understand what the narcissist is trying to do, so that you can protect yourself around the narcissist, to lead by example for your children, so that they can learn to think and see for themselves the right way and the wrong way to go about doing things. which is when they're shaming you in front of the children, when they're shaming you via messages, that says more about them. That is their projection. Don't take the bait. Don't try and defend yourself. You do not need to defend your intentions to someone that is going to use your intentions against you. Know your own truth and teach your children to know their own truth. Know your boundaries. Raise your standards. Self-care. Make sure you are taking the correct care of yourself so that you can be at your best to give your best to your children. Do not let their words impact who you are as a person. You define you. Help your children learn that they define themselves and who they are as a person. Get their counselling, help and support if you need for you as well as your children. Let the children let their emotions out. Do not react to the narcissist. Do not give them any information about you. They will use this against you. Don't try and get information from them. The more they can cause that intrigue within you about what they are up to with the children, they are doing this to pull you into their games. Doesn't matter what they're doing, leave them to it. Let them parent their way when they have the children, because it will have less of a negative impact on you. You focus on you while the children are with them. Focus on helping the children when the children are back with you. Focus on how you want to live your life with the children when the children are with you. Leave the narcissist to parent their way, and you counterbalance it when the children are with you. If you can, get a third party to do drop-offs or pickups, or at least be with you till you're at that place of calmness where you can learn to retreat, rethink, and only respond if you need to do so. If anyone has any advice on how to co-parent, parallel parent, counteract the narcissist counter-parenting, please do drop it into the comments, because there's lots of different ways and means that people have found that works, and what works for one doesn't work for another. Some narcissists are very quick to jump ship and just realise they're not getting anything from you or the children and leave you alone. Some will keep going and keep going. Some will walk out on their children's lives. Some will continuously come back and be there. Some can see the children limited time. Some it needs to be no contact. So it all varies depending on the narcissist you're dealing with, depending on how well the children are coping with the situation. So any advice, please drop it into the comments. You never know who that might help. I shall add the courses into the description. There is a course on co-parenting with a narcissist. I shall add the video on boundaries and self-esteem, because that will help you as a person to be at your best, to make your best life for you. So the narcissist can no longer pull you down. The narcissist can no longer get hold of your emotions and crumple them up and spit you back out. Thank you very much for listening, and do something today that makes you smile. Do something that makes you laugh. Do something that picks you up. Do something with your children that gives you all that buzz moment, that makes you all happy. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.